And the award for Fulham Focus Podcast Host of the Year goes to... envelopes, 50-50 chance. It's Jmac! I knew this thing would be rigged.
Thank you, Mr. Reese, for that lovely introduction, and thank you to all my fans, and thank you to my parents, without whose trust fund I would not be here today. And thank you to all of you at home for listening. Without you, all of this is marginally possible. It's with great pride we can look back on this season as a learning curve, the steepest imaginable. When seasons as nightmarishly mad queen as this occur, it's best that we all just laugh at it as best we can and pray God it takes more than 8 times for the same thing to happen for Fulham FC to start learning. Climate change is real. Thank you. Monsieur Boisclair and Sir Domm are with me. Let's start the award show. All right, fellas, and here we are. Here I am, dressed up in a 3-piece tuxedo at my penthouse above the Rocket Pub in Putney, and here's 3 glasses of Bollinger 94 for all of us. We did it, lads. We didn't kill ourselves or each other. We have... this is all an illusion, really. You're online and I'm drinking these 3 glasses to myself. But before we start, I think we should just do a little analysis of what we're about to do. Fulham. A summer that started with a threadbare squad was pumped full of millions of pounds of new players and proving that the owners were serious about us being in the Premier League for the long run. A defeat at home, quickly followed by another one at Wembley, wasn't the best of starts, but we were up and running with a win at the 3rd attempt at home to Burnley. A few games later, Slab was sacked when he couldn't find more wins or his best team. Ranieri was in and his short tenure left us rooted in the bottom 3. He was sacked and Scott Parker was unable to mastermind a turnaround, and the Whites were sent back to the Championship at the first time of asking following a hammering at Watford. We had fun along the way, and that fun is set to continue into this week's show, as myself and the Mats discuss our highlights and lowlights as we answer the season's hot topics. Let's begin. Excellent. Right. Award number 1. Best performance of the season. And Mr. Domm, I will go to you first, sir. What's your best performance of the season? And I'd like to add, actually, there are no winners here. What we pick are just our individual winners, the highlight nominations, as you were. Go for it, Mr. Domm.
Yeah, well, so many to choose from. So I think we've got one of the 3 each, haven't we? So
yes,
my option is the whole 90 against Everton, because for me, I think that was our best rounded performance of the season. We defended well. We didn't give up many chances. We kept some really talented players quiet, and took our chances well at the other end. So that sort of was a performance that gave me some hope that we might be able to do something next season with Parker.
Yeah, for me, I think the highlight of the best performance of the season was the second half against Brighton. So we were 2-0 down at half time, and Jmac, do you remember we were there? It was hammering with rain. And we met up at half-time and it was freezing. Morgan was there as well. And we just all kind of stood there and looked at each other and went, well, this is shit, isn't it? Yeah. And didn't really fancy going back out for the second half. But straight away, Callum Chambers scored a goal straight into the top corner. Can't remember who got the next goal, but we scored 4 of them in the second half, and it was spot on. And I remember I was on the train on the way up to that game thinking to myself, I think we probably need 7 wins if we're going to stay up starting tonight. And at half-time, it looked unlikely. But then by the end of the game, I was buzzing. I was really thinking at that point that it was on and that we might be able to do it.
Yeah, that was so good that night. I lost my voice after that game. It was definitely one of the best performances I've seen in recent times at the Cottage, just because of how unexpected we turned it around. My best performance would probably be Bournemouth away. I think I'm saying that purely out of jealousy that I actually didn't go to this game like you, Mr. Boisclair, and I didn't bring an inflatable with me, but we'll get to that later on. But the most, it just seemed like, Bournemouth is not an easy place to go, as some of the top 6 teams will tell you. So I think that was one of the most professional performances that we pulled off, and keeping a clean sheet as well. Even though it was a penalty, for me, I think that Bournemouth result really made me think it's such a shame that Scott Parker wasn't here earlier. All right, so goal of the season. That is our next award. Goal of the season. We have, we managed to always do some wonder goals in the seasons that we get relegated, like Kasami in 2013, 2014. Mr. Boisclair, what is your goal of the season?
I've gone for Seri against Burnley. when I think it was about after 4 or 5 minutes, he pinged it into the top corner from miles out of the Putney end. And I think it was his third game for the club, wasn't it? He played against Palace in the first home game and then away at Spurs. And he looked okay in those games. But then when he scored that goal, I thought, we've really got a top player here. And if he's going to be doing that all season, then, we're going to be absolutely flying. And sadly, it wasn't to be. But I thought that was a fantastic goal. And it's in many ways, it's a shame that it came so early in the season. But I guess we did have other ones as well, which I'm sure you chaps are about to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were in danger for a while of having more goal of the season, goal of the month wins than actual wins. I think eventually our wins overtook that. But I've gone for a goal in the return game to what Mr. Boisclair's picked. Andre Schürrle's away to Burnley, largely because it reminded me of the goal Kasami scored that you just mentioned when we went down last time. Hopeful ping forward from right back, and then Schürrle fires it off the bar. And goals that go in off the bar are probably my favourite type of goal. So credit where it's due to the lads. It was a lovely finish. Just sadly we threw it away after that, really. But fantastic goal.
Yeah, and that was all before he caught his awful disease. We're still praying for him that he came out of it all right. My goal of the season, another wonder goal. I think I'm going to go with Ryan Babel against Cardiff, purely because, one, even though we didn't technically relegate them that game, that result and that goal ensured pretty much that Cardiff weren't going to do it. But also, I think the way Cardiff had set up, and it's a Neil Warnock team, it felt like that wonderful sort of goal that if anything was going to break them, it was going to be a goal like that. And it was just so inspired bit of passing from Cyrus Christie that I did not expect actually Ryan Babel to just take the shot immediately from that pass he was given. So for me, Ryan Babel against Cardiff for that one. But they're all great goals. We're, for some reason, really good at doing this when we get relegated. I don't know why. All right. Award number 3, best celebration. Now, I'm going to go first for this one, and I'm at a bit of a tie, and maybe you guys can help me which one you prefer. So, for me, it's either the Mitrovic-Huddersfield winner. It was a terrible, terrible game, but if you remember, there is a really nice replay of it, or if you were there, you would have seen it. He celebrates right in front of the crowd, and there is just a shot of this steward who is just standing right next to him, with such a grin on his face next to Mitrovic. For some reason, that's one of my favourite celebrations. The other one is when Mitrovic made it 3-2 against Brighton at home in that amazing game we were just talking about. And he just gave that sort of look that just said, I love you, this is my club. And it just reminded me, it gave me sort of Karagounis sort of feels, actually. I remember when Karagounis scored once at the College and he actually stood on top of the rail. It was brilliant. But yeah, I think either of those does it for me for best celebration, just for you. I don't know, hair on end, standing on end moments. And for you, Mr. Boisclair, what is your best celebration?
I've gone for the Tom Cairney baby celebration against Everton.
Nice.
I actually missed the goal, which I think is the only goal I missed all season, because I was just having a drink with a friend of mine at half time, and we just said goodbye. And I was walking back up the concourse to the Hammersmith end and just heard the eruption. And I was gutted, actually, because I really wanted to see Tom Cairney score all season, so it's a bit stupid, but. Yeah, and his celebration just after his girlfriend had given birth to Aubrey, and he gave it the sucking of the thumb right into the camera lens. I thought that was great.
Yeah, no, it's a great choice, that one. I'm with you, Jmac, on Mitrovic against Huddersfield. A lovely little look from the steward, as you say, but it was kind of more for the relief and the kind of last gasp win that was so important at the time. And we didn't have a lot of those this season, but just for everything that had gone before, with the penalty miss, and it looked like we'd thrown it away, and we really, 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 really needed to win that game. And Mitrovic comes up with the goods, goes straight over to the hammy end, and limbs everywhere. It was a fantastic moment. So I'm going with that one.
Nice one. Out of interest, do you guys remember what goal it was that Dennis Odoi scored that made him do a backflip this season? Because I remember him doing that, and I just think, bloody hell, Dennis Odoi really does surprise you in times that you never expect it. Like, do you remember if he scored a goal where he did a backflip? He
scored against Oldham, but I don't know if he did a backflip. I don't remember.
He's definitely done a backflip this season.
Was that this season?
Yeah, it was like a half backflip. It was really weird. It was almost like he did a flip on his side. It was really strange. I need to look that up. I'll find out at the end of this. All right. And the next award is Moment of the Season. And I will go to you first with this, Mr. Boisclair. What is your moment of the season, sir?
For me, it was the whole day of Bournemouth away. I had such a brilliant day that day. I got the train down, had a mooch about Bournemouth before the game, and then got a taxi up and had a few beers, and just the result, the atmosphere, the whole camaraderie of the day, and just went on into the evening as well. It's such a brilliant day, and those days have been few and far between, and you can't beat a good Fulham away day, and that was one of the best.
I'm also going for off the pitch moment, but it was Ranieri getting the sack. I'm afraid a bit depressing, but perhaps. But I was I'd seen enough of him. I could see pretty early on that it wasn't going to work, and getting rid of him in the end of his football style was a kind of highlight in a low season for me. It's just a shame that the damage was already done. But it's got to have been when I read that article on the club website that he is no more.
You know what? I think I sort of agree with you on that. But do you remember the next day when he had that interview with the window down, did sort of like a Harry Redknapp and talked to the press, and he just, I don't know, there was just something about it. I think I was talking to you about this, Boisclair, in the group, and I was just like, this is the right decision, but my heart's breaking a little bit. It was like it was like a Muppet being fired, wasn't it? He just looked so. He was like, Scott Parker will do very well, very well. He just looked so sad, and like it's just like firing your grandpa or something. He just looks so happy. I mean, he's very rich from being fired, so it's fine. But
I think my grandpa would have done a better job, though. To be fair, fine. But I just remember thinking that, like, oh, we bless him. He did try. It's not his fault. It is his fault. But anyway, so my moment of the season is a bit of a weird one. It was just, it's been a terrible season, the worst ever. But I remember when Palace came at home in the first game of the season. We sang to Roy, and Roy applauded us. It was the second time at Crystal Palace when we sang to him, actually, and he applauded us. And I just was never have actually expected him to do that when he's the manager of a home team, to applaud us, even when we start singing to him. And, we start singing, have you ever beat Juventus? Have you fucked? And it was just, I don't know, there's just a very warm moment about that. I felt very comforted by Roy's, acknowledgement of us during a terrible season. It was just a really nice moment for me. All right, so award number 5. Best goal conceded out of the 81. 81 fucking goals, I believe. So the best goal that we... the best goal we conceded... going through them all.
Yeah, exactly. So go on, mate. Mr. Domm, what's your best goal conceded out of the 81?
I mean, I don't think it's in doubt. It's Aaron Ramsey.
Yeah.
At the Cottage, right?
What do you think, Mr. Boisclair? Because I think you might feel the same. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really want to dig too deep into this and have to go back through any of the results. And the only one I could really remember was the Aaron Ramsey goal. And I think it might have been because it was on Match of the Day last weekend as one of the contenders for goal of the season. But it was a fantastic goal. The kind of the build-up, the way they pass it round us and he's back-heeled it into the bottom corner. Great goal.
It was so good. It was so good. And, it was such a... It was 5-1 that game or something in the end, wasn't it? I was just,
something like that, yeah.
Just
stupid score.
It was whatever. Have fun at Juve. Have fun at Juve. That was a wonderful, wonderful goal. All right, so the next award, the worst goal conceded out of the 81. So the worst goal. I sort of stressed that really weirdly. The worst goal conceded out of the 81. For me, I will go first with this one. For the worst goal, I'm going to say that it is the Harry Winks header. For me, there was just the marking, the defending, the timing, everything about that goal was a huge stinking point for me for just thinking we're fucked now. This season is 100% over. But also just because it was so avoidable. I mean, as Matt Domm alluded to in the group chat, he's so small. So it just doesn't make any sense. So for me, Harry Winks' goal was the worst one conceded. And to you, Mr. Matt Domm.
Yeah, for just sheer frustration, it's the one Liverpool's first away at Anfield when we scored that goal, and I'm sure Mitra is not offside there, but it's ruled out anyway.
Yeah.
And we're all celebrating. The players are all celebrating. About 6 of them are off the pitch, and the referee goes, "There you go, lads, take it quick." They run up the other end, scored, hit us on the break, and to make matters worse, we tried to play Mo Salah offside from about the halfway line. So there's some classic Fulham defending involved as well, but partly as well because that was kind of the end of Slav, and it really looked like there was just a slim chance we might have pulled something together, but it wasn't to be, and just really depressing all round.
You know what? Screw it. They didn't win the league, so they got their just desserts. Almost.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, nice one, Mr. Boisclair. What is your worst goal conceded? What does the award go to for you?
I've gone for the equaliser away at West Ham when I think it might have been from a corner, and Rico's just done his usual flappy punch and sent it straight up into the sky. And then
flappy punch.
Yeah, and the ball came down and ended up going in off of Hernandez's arm, and then it just went from bad to worse after that. But I mean, the goal shouldn't have stood, but we almost deserved it for that stupid piece of goalkeeping anyway. So yeah, not a good Friday night in East London. I'm
surprised, actually. I mean, you've mentioned Rico so soon, but then again, I remember you hate him, so that's which is fine. Oh, lads, actually, I'm just FYI, I remember the goal now, the celebration Radoy. It was a weird sort of forward front flip sideways thingy, but it was for the opening goal that he scored against Oldham Athletic. So the less said about that game, the better, actually, to be honest.
We can all sleep easy tonight now knowing that.
Exactly, yeah. I knew there was a reason I didn't want to mention that. Oldham, Jesus Christ. I mean, you know what? Just when you thought the season wasn't, we talk about all the things that have happened in this episode, and you forget about Oldham. I actually forgot about Oldham until I mentioned the fucking John Dennis Adoy backflip. This has been a terrible season.
Backflip against Oldham as well.
It was like it wasn't even a full backflip. Yeah, anyway. Oldham. Anyway, all right. Award number 7, the best signing. Mr. Boisclair, who wins the award for you for best signing this season?
I've gone Ryan Babel. I did think about Mitrovic, but I think Ryan Babel did have a big impact when he signed in January. And the funny thing about it was with Mitro, everybody wanted him to sign, and everyone was delighted when he did sign. But with Babel, nobody wanted him to sign, and he signed, and everyone thought, well, who's this joker? Ex-Liverpool, who hasn't been in the Premier League for years and years and years. But he came in, and he was probably our best player in the second half of the season, to be honest, in my opinion anyway. And he scored a couple of really good goals as well. You look at the Everton goal and the Cardiff goal that you've already mentioned as well. So, yeah, Babel for me.
Yeah, I give you full credit for choosing him. I'm sure a lot of people could choose him as well. He's actually he's probably what Tony Khan is using as a good poster for his transfer policy, his sort of system that he uses. I mean, everyone was saying, oh God, what's going on here? We're meant to be only under 28s and now we're going over 31s with this guy. But I mean, Ryan Babel was an inspired signing, and it's actually really sad that he won't be with us next season in the Premier League. For you, Mr. Domm, who's your best signing of the season?
Yeah, for me, it's got to be Mitro.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted him here. He wanted to come here, and getting him home where he belongs was just a really good moment, and it was really positive for everyone, thinking we're going to have a really good season here. And it kind of the sort of saga of will we get him, won't we get him, went on just about long enough where people started to question whether it was actually going to happen. And then in he came, and scored a lot of quite a high number of early goals, and he's finished the season on 11 or something, which is a pretty good return for a team that's come 19th. And he's such an important player for us. So yeah, it's got to be Mitro.
Yeah, of course. And fingers crossed he actually stays with us next season. Then we don't have to look at the likes of people like Britta Sumbalonga, who's been rumoured today. My best signing, you'll be really surprised to hear this. Actually, I never talk about him that much. It's a guy called Joe Bryan, who's I don't usually talk about him with much praise at all. But no, I mean Joe Bryan. I thought I was really excited when we nabbed him off Villa in the end, and I actually think it's quite interesting. He was had an injury to begin with, and he was a bit dodgy at the start of the season after that. But I think he's really come leaps and bounds now, and I think he's going to be a very valuable asset to us next season. So the longevity of his value to us, I would definitely pick Joe Bryan for me. All right, award number 8, biggest flop. Who is the biggest flop for you, Mr. Matt Domm?
It was AK's going down in the box against Bournemouth for me. I mean, he's got history, the player final against the playoff semi against Derby last year, where he took it around Scott Carson and went to the ground. This time he took it around, I think it was Boric. Instead of tapping it into an empty net, he's tried to win the penalty and he hasn't got it. Just ridiculous all round and really frustrating. to watch, and just a complete waste of pace and strength, really. So yeah, it's got to be that moment for me.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that actually, but he's a shocking player. But we've got him back for next season, so that's good.
Yay.
I biggest flop. I went for Ranieri, although if you play back all of the shows from this season, which I'm sure nobody would ever do, but I wanted him to stay. I was really happy that we got him, but it just didn't work for him, did it? And playing Kearney out of position and dropping Sessegnon and just generally distancing the whole squad from the supporters and just getting no return on the pitch. I guess he had to go when he did, and it's a shame because he came with quite the credentials and quite the CV, and he came with this dossier that he put together on the whole team, and so it all sounded really positive. And when he first joined, I thought he's definitely going to get us out of this, but it was shocking, and big flop at Fulham he was.
Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing some technical difficulties because we said biggest flop. I mean, so Matt Domm's gone for physical flop, as in the worst dive, and you've gone for sort of the biggest disappointment. Which one? I don't know which one to go for now, because I went for biggest disappointment as well, but I actually really like Mr. Domm's idea of which is the worst dive. In which case, I don't know. What do you think?
Just go for what you want. I mean, I just interpreted it as a flop.
All right.
Because
all right. In which case,
that really annoyed me. So
no, fair enough.
Whichever's good.
Well, no, mate, it keeps it lively. So I think what I'll go for, I'm going to go for Alfie Mawson, just because of the disappointment of what we were hoping to get with him, with Chambers beside him, blah blah blah, and also just generally the manner of his injury is pretty annoying, and just the what he said in opening thoughts of how we were doing at the start of the season with words such as, I won't stand for this type of defending, verbatim, I think he said in one of the newspapers. So yeah, I think biggest flop for me is Alfie Mawson, which is due to injury, I understand, but still, nonetheless. All right, and now the next award is for Best Manager. Who does the Best Manager award go to for you, Mr. Matt Domm?
I'm going for Parker, the caretaker version.
Okay.
Because I mean, obviously we know how getting a caretaker manager as a permanent manager goes. We've got Kit Simons to look back, and we've got Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as well for this season. And I'm gonna rule out the last game because that was just end of the season ridiculousness. I think we can put it down to. But those 3 wins in a row, those 3 clean sheets in a row, was some really positive stuff, and it made me believe that we can get something out of this group of players.
And for you, Mr. Boisclair?
Best manager, yeah. It's funny we've had 3 again, isn't it? Bloody what an absolute shit show. But I've gone for Scott Parker as well. I guess if we're going between whether it should be the caretaker version or the full-time version, then we go with the one who got 3 wins and 3 clean sheets in a row. So I don't think he could have done any more really in the games that he had, and to get that run of results against the odds, really, using the word really like he does. Has anybody else noticed that he says really in every interview that he does about 20 times, really?
No, I only...
Not really, no.
What's annoying is as soon as you mentioned that he does that, it's now all I fucking hear.
Yeah.
So yeah, but no, I have noticed that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yeah, no. So yeah, for me, I mean, Ranieri was a disaster. Slav was a disaster this season. So, he probably would have won it by default anyway. But I think he earned it as well.
Yeah, and that's why I'm going to say Scott Parker as well. I mean, it's a no-brainer. He's actually technically the best. He's got the best record out of all the other 2. Slavica and Ranieri. He's hoping that actually we can do well with him next season. All right, this is quite a fun one. Award number 10, Dickhead of the Season. And I'll go to you first, Mr. Boisclair. Who is your Dickhead of the Season?
Matt Baldwin, Alfie Mawson. Sorry, Baldo. Alfie Mawson for injuring himself for 4 months, putting his shoes on. What a dickhead.
Yeah, that is ridiculous. How do you even do that? How is that even possible?
God knows.
I mean,
God knows.
You just can't try. Anyway, for you, Mr. Domm, who is your dickhead of the season? Or dickhead moment of the season, whatever you fancy. Seeing as you like to change the rules constantly. In this
so we should probably get Alfie to give Yari Lippman a call to discuss stories about stupid injuries. But it's hard to argue with that one, isn't it? But for me, it's whoever booked that yoga session, the famous yoga fight. Let's do the most calming activity possible. Oh, it's going to end in a brawl. Brilliant. Only Fulham this season.
Only Fulham. Exactly that. Yeah. I'm surprised. I mean, I guess that goes hand in hand with AK-47. I was going to suggest him originally, thinking about the penalty incident with Mitro.
Loads.
There's so many. There's so many. For me, this is going to be a really against the grain one. But for me, I'm going to go with Tim Ream for his comments at the start of the season. Now, I don't dislike Tim Ream, but I thought his comments just really were the worst start possible for what the players then went on to go and do and say in the future of the press as well. So I'm going to go with Tim Ream. Not people are going to agree with me on that, but I think that was a moment where I just thought, this is not good, and you were an idiot for doing that. All right.
I just dug out his tweet back in October. Oh, the horror. Oh, the horror. If only Sky would have included their reporters' questions in their presenting, my answers might have made more sense.
Oh, fair enough. I do remember him actually saying that.
Whatever that means.
Yeah. Oh, well. I mean, still, it didn't look good. That's the main thing. But anyway, award number 11. This is quite a good one, and I think I'll go first. The moment you knew we were doomed. The moment you knew we were doomed. And I think for me, I think it's got to be when Zaha scored at Palace at home. For Palace at home, sorry.
The season.
I just the first goal of the season. There was just that disturbance in the fort. I don't know. I never. There was just something when Zaha scored and his celebration. I just remember thinking, this doesn't feel right. You know what? Maybe that's a bit dramatic. I'll tell you what. I'll pick another one for the moment I knew we were doomed. I think it was transfer deadline day at midnight. I think it was literally like the Titanic was sinking. It's like that moment in Titanic where the guy says, "Oh, well, we've called a distress signal, sir," and it's like, "How long?" 4 hours, and the captain just looks at him like, "What the there is no help coming. There is no one. We have Markovic and Ryan Babel as well, but I mean Markovic." Yeah, it was transfer deadline day for me was when I knew we were.
I was going to ask you which transfer deadline day.
Well, that's quite right. Good point. Yeah, I mean, it was. I think just as soon as just remember Fulham FC tweeting at midnight or like 10 past midnight saying, "You guys still up?"
We got another one.
And then people just like this better be good, man. It was just Markovic. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thank you, Mitro. So, okay, and to you, Mr. Boisclair, what was the moment you knew we were doomed?
So I remember on the Friday when we played West Ham, I was out walking my dogs and I was thinking to myself, we need to win these next 2 games because there was West Ham on the Friday and then I think Southampton was the following Wednesday. I thought we need to win these next 2 games if we've got any chance whatsoever. We lost against West Ham and I still thought to myself, well, if we can get something at Southampton. But when we just turned up at Southampton, the way we set up, Kevin McDonald was back in the team randomly after being frozen out for months. And we were absolutely appalling that night. And that's when Ranieri got it off the supporters as well. And I think he was booted out the next day. And it was after that, after Southampton away, I thought, that's it. Done and dusted. Pack up and go home.
Yeah. For me, I've got to go with the defeat away to Burnley. I think it was a couple of weeks before the end of the transfer window, which Markovic was a great shout, by the way. But it was that, Schürrle opened the scoring with that great goal, and Burnley still were kind of shit. They had a terrible start of the season. They still weren't particularly good. They were beatable. And then they scored 2 goals. I think pretty much both of our own goals. I think one of them was very generously given to their player. I can't remember who it was, but in about 3 minutes we had 2 own goals and we were 2-1 down, and then we were never coming back from it. And then that was that kind of it summed everything up. We really just aren't good enough, and we're not going to stay up.
Sometimes at night I can still hear the screaming. It's just that was just the worst. I mean, I think it was in 3 minutes those 2 own goals occurred.
Yeah, something like that.
Absolutely dreadful. Absolute toilet show. Okay, fair enough. All right. Award number 12, biggest disappointment. Biggest disappointment. And back to you, Mr. Boisclair, for your biggest disappointment.
I've gone with the way some supporters turned on Tony Khan. I think it was really harsh.
Yeah, very good.
We talked about it quite a lot on the show at the time or throughout the season about what we thought the club needed to do to move forward and how we thought they needed a blueprint and some ideas off the pitch as to the philosophy. But then you've got idiot supporters turning up, directly having a go at Tony Khan, who's clearly trying his best, and it hasn't quite worked out for him this season, and he's made some mistakes which he's held his hands up to. But the personal abuse that guy's taken has just been completely unnecessary and out of order. And I think I've said in the past, and I'll say again now, that it made me embarrassed to be a Fulham supporter.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that, mate, actually. I probably would have thought that myself if I thought of it.
Relegation's relegation. It's not the end of the world, is it?
That's right.
We'll probably keep the crux of this squad together, and we'll have another go at promotion next season. And if we did come back up next season, then where do those supporters stand with Tony Khan then? If he's still in the same role?
I mean, just look at Bolton at the moment. Look at all these clubs. Do you know what I mean? Just
exactly. You need to
open your eyes.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right, Mr. Domm. Biggest disappointment for you?
Yeah, I've got 3 options for this one. I'll run through them quickly and I'll tell you which one I've settled on. But Ryan Sessegnon, simply.
I like that one.
Replacing Ryan Frederick with Cyrus Christie is my second option.
Yeah,
it just was not the same. And
but
the one I think really is, looking back at everything, was that throwing it away in the second half against Brighton, because we can point to that moment as one that we really never came back from, and we lost a couple of games after that again. And just as we started to look up, we'd beaten Burnley 4-2, and then we were 2-0 up against Brighton. But a combination of just shit defending and terrible defending as just you completely threw it away, and we drew that game, and then it just, I don't know, there's just a kind of sense of dread from that. And looking back, that was a really, really pivotal moment.
I mean, it's weird. I was looking at the fixture list of when Brighton away occurred. It was very, very early on. I think it might have been the game or 2 games after Tottenham away when we were at Wembley, or maybe 2 or 3 games at least. And what's funny about it is Mitro's reaction with his hands held over his mouth. There was just something about that moment that just changed for everyone in that season. For our season, it seemed. I mean, I know the validity of that argument is as valid as, saying that Scott Parker's a jinx because he's been around every time something's gone slightly wrong. But still, there is that sort of strange voodoo sort of feel about it. As soon as that handball happened and we lost that lead and became a 2-2 draw, we just felt like everything went sort of spasmed out of control, didn't it?
Yeah, I didn't quite see anything like that since Zaha scored at the Cottage about 2 weeks before that.
yeah. Well, it was, I said that was it. So my biggest disappointment, I think, is going to be, it's got to be Jean-Michel Seri. He was great in the first game. I mean, everyone was pretty much, really massaging their lower regions a bit when we first saw him, just thinking, like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. This is like Tom Kenny times 50. And actually,
massaging their lower regions. What?
Well, I just feel like everyone was going a bit mental for him. Should I cut that out?
No, leave it in.
I don't know. Everyone was just a bit. I just thought everyone was just a bit. Everyone was going getting a bit too excited too early about Seri after about 3 or 4 games, and then he just really started to decline. And just obviously the Premier League, I think, was just a little bit too quick for him, as a lot of people are saying in the tabloids, etc., etc. I don't know if he's actually going to Monaco, but I can imagine that could be a league he'd probably do a bit better in. But yeah, for me, I've got to say that Seri was a huge, huge disappointment. All right, Award 13. This is great. The best away win inflatable. The best away win inflatable. And I'll go to you first, Mr. Boisclair. Who was the best away win inflatable that you saw?
Well, talking about massaging the lower regions, I'm going for the inflatable penis at Bournemouth. There you go. I'm going to be blunt about it.
That's fine. Was it from your loft?
I was going to say there's no beating about the bush, but
as long as it wasn't from your loft, mate. That's the main
not
thing.
from my loft. It wasn't one of mine. Not from my vast collection.
We'd always used that up from Seri anyway.
Yeah. Mr. Tom, what about you?
Yeah, well, I did see one of the dolls from Frenchy's attic actually, so I'm going to go with that. There made a fantastic appearance, and I hope that whoever brought it along didn't have to buy an extra seat because it would have been a bit of a waste. But yeah, lovely doll, enjoying her day out.
Fair enough. So for me, I looked at some pictures of the away game. And just it sounded a bit precarious, isn't it? No, I saw some pictures of the away day and people in the stands, and I was just trying to think. I originally had just sort of like a palm tree as what the one I was going to pick, and that's a bit boring. And then I saw this legend holding like a Dalmatian inflatable, but he was holding it as if it was like a handbag dog, as if the dog was real. And it was just one of the most amazing things. And I was thinking, a Dalmatian's a perfect dog to symbolise Fulham with the black and white. I just thought, we need a Dalmatian. Let's get rid of Billy the Badger and have the Dalmatian going instead. We should get it in the new badge when the Riverside's done. So for me, it's the Dalmatian. Your silence says it all, lads. All right. So the next award is the most handsome player. Who gets the most handsome player award for you, Mr. Matt Domm?
It's kind of worst player of the season plus most handsome. I think is Cyrus Christie for me.
Yeah, fair enough.
You know, I'm not going to go into the reasons.
Fair enough. Yeah, I like him as well.
Yeah, lovely bit of Cyrus.
And for you, Mr. Boisclair?
I am going for. I was going to say something horrendous then as well. I'm going to say it. It's a toss-up between Dennis Adoy and Marcus Bettinelli.
I saw that as well.
Very good. Very good. I think Fabry deserves some sort of award for anything this season, so I'll give it to Fabry. He's quite a good-looking man. Yeah, Fabry.
I'll give it to Fabry. He's a good-looking man. This is brilliant. It's gold.
Oh, I didn't even realise this.
I think you've got to pick one, Frenchy.
Yeah, yeah.
What, Dennis Adoy or Bet? I will go. Yeah. All right, then let's go for Bettinelli.
All right, excellent. I mean, excellent. There are some people who's listening to this, like, what is going on?
Yeah,
at Focus at the moment?
Nobody's going to be listening still, are they? Surely not.
Yeah, I think we probably lost them with lower region, etc. etc. Yeah, maybe. All right. The next award is the moment. No, sorry, big one. All right, the next award is best haircut, and I'll go first for this one. It's sort of a haircut. I'm going to go for Mitrovic's beard. I liked his beard. I thought it was cool. It gave him, like, he's already, you wouldn't mess with him as it is, being Serbian and looking like a hitman. But with that, I was just like, Jesus Christ, step away. And what about you guys? Mr. Domm, best haircut for you?
John Joe Shelby, last day of the season.
Nice, very good.
Now, I think on a serious topic.
It's got to be. We're all about serious.
Seriously, best haircut shit. Okay.
He's got the best haircut of the club. It's Harvey Elliott, isn't it? Because he's got 3 of them.
He does 3 in 1. What is that then? It's a top knot with shaved sides, and what's the other thing going on? It's like sort of dreadlocks or something.
I don't know, mullet.
Maybe a bit of mullet. Yeah, maybe a bit of mullet.
Something.
I mean,
he's covering a few decades, isn't he? So,
when like Alex Ferguson, like I was reading something like Alex Ferguson said to David Beckham, this is only this is on the Sky Sports app only a couple of weeks ago, and Beckham said, yeah, like Fergie told me to shave that off, like I wasn't allowed, like he kept his beanie on the entire time he did training and stuff, and before one of the matches he just took his beanie off, and Fergie's like, you're not going out in that, shave it off in the showers right now, and I'm complete. I mean, I don't know how in this day and age 16 or not, that a player could go out with hair like that. It's just completely baffles me. Anyway.
All right, Grandad.
Sorry.
During the war.
You don't know. You haven't lived. Mr. Boisclair, your best haircut.
I'm going with Ryan Babel. Anyone that turns up for 4 or 5 months and just has bright red hair the entire time they're here and keeps it well maintained. He's what?
He's
a knob. Well, he's left now, isn't he? So say what you want about him, but I quite liked it.
Yeah, fair enough. I remember hearing a rumor at one point that he was actually going to dye his hair white or black and white, but I think that's. I don't know if he's actually. I don't know when he actually dyed it red. Was it actually in the Times of Liverpool? I'm not sure.
Maybe he would. Maybe he would have done it if he cared about Fulham, but looking at his social media post, he cared more about Liverpool, which is probably why he went with red.
That's why he just didn't celebrate that goal, that amazing goal against Van Dijk, which exploited his weakness. And he's like, "Oh no, I can't celebrate." It was really awkward. Right, next award is the moment that sums up our season. So, award 16, the moment that best sums up our season. And I'll go to you first. I'll go back to you, Mr. Boisclair.
I've gone with an early one, actually. I've gone with Brighton away, where I think we were 2-0 up. Then Brighton get a goal back, and backs against the wall. We're defending our lead, looking for our first away win of the season as early as September. And then the ball comes down out of the sky, and Mitro, under no pressure whatsoever, just needlessly handballs it. And for me, that just sums the season up. It was just a stupid mistake, and it sparked a flurry of stupid mistakes. It just resulted in us getting absolutely thrashed every week. If we'd have won that game, who knows whether the season would have been different? Arguably not. But for me, that just the needless mistake is just ridiculous.
Yeah, and I mean, talk about needless mistakes. I mean, the moment that sums up the season for me was pretty much the 2 own goals in 3 minutes, which has already been mentioned, and Mr. Matt Domm. So, Mr. Matt Domm, give us your award winner for this one.
Yeah, I think it's. I'm going much towards the other end of the season.
Go on.
Scott Parker, appointed permanent manager. He's had good enough results. We're looking up. We might be going places. Let's start to look forward to next season. And the final day result: Fulham 0, Newcastle 4. Perfect.
Yeah, yeah. The wheels have fallen off. That's pretty much it. As a lot.
There's only one wheel as it was.
That's pretty much right.
That was hanging on by a thread.
Yeah. It's a miracle he managed to do what he did, actually, in some ways. All right. Okay, this is a great one. All right. Award number 17. This is the penultimate award, and it's for the best chant. The best chant. And I'll go to you first, Mr. Domm. What's your best chant?
1, 2, 3, 4. Maxime Le Marchand. Maxime Le Marchand.
Maxime Le Marchand. That's so good. That's good.
I mean, it's also. I guess the award could also be for least deserving player to have a chant that's sung so much by the crowd.
Yeah,
but it's catchy and it's brilliant, isn't it?
It is. I mean, what about you, Mr. Boisclair? Are you the same, or have you got something else?
No, I think our supporters, aside from the whole Tony Khan stuff, were pretty brilliant this season. I had such a good time. It was one of my favourite seasons, even though it was absolutely dire on the pitch. And everybody kind of kept their sense of humour. And Southampton away especially was a really good one. There was some really good banter. We were singing "You're Going Down with the Fulham" to the Southampton fans, and at that point it looked like they might be. But when we sung "You're Going Down with the Fulham" to Cardiff after just going 1-0 up, I thought that was absolutely brilliant, because that goal did effectively relegate them. And after everything that happened last season, and we were chasing them for second place, and there's this kind of faux rivalry that's kind of come up out of nowhere between us and Cardiff. For us to get that goal and then to be able to ram it down their throats and Warnock's throat, I loved it.
Yeah.
It's the little things sometimes, isn't it?
No, of course. For me, the best chant is this. I've got to actually prepare myself to actually see it. It's Andre Van Samboa, Andre Van Samboa, and I remember it's absolutely my favourite one. I remember there was someone behind me who just said, "No, I can't do that. That's too fast for me. I'm not going to do that."
Doesn't move that quick.
Yeah, but do you know what it reminds me of? Have you seen like Blackadder with the firing squad, and it's sort of like ready and fire? It literally reminds me so much of that. It's just sort of like I'm a gabbler, me, and it just comes out like almost like Tourette's. It's very strange, but I love it. Andre Van Samboa, I hope he stays. It'd be brilliant. All right then, guys. The final award is for best unsung hero. Now I will go to. Well, I think I'll go to you first, Mr. Boisclair, with this one. Who is your unsung hero?
Well, maybe a bit left field, but
go on.
A lot of people won't know how much this guy does for the podcast, because he's on it occasionally, but he never takes any credit for the fact that he edits the show. He sits in the US, and we record this show sometimes quite late on a Monday night. And then it goes over to him, and he sits there for hours and hours and edits to get it out for the rush hour the next morning. So unsung hero for me is Mr. Lover himself, Don Love of Fulham Focus.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. What about you, Mr. Matt Domm?
Yeah, thirded, Mr. Lover, man.
Mr. Lover. What an
All
absolute
you need
legend.
is love.
All you need is Don Love. He's great.
Don Love.
And we could not appreciate him more for giving us his best sort of cooking tips and stuff. There was an amazing chicken recipe he uploaded, and when he's having a bourbon and painting the house, it's so nice to be updated by him, and he's just the best guy in the world. He does so much for this pod, and it's just
because he's in the States. It feels like the podcast is done by magic overnight, doesn't it?
It's completely,
In many ways it is, because the shit show that we put out sometimes on a Monday, and then you think, oh my God, this is going to be a nightmare. And I listen back and think, actually, that sounds more coherent than I was expected. Nice one, Don.
Yeah, exactly. And, sometimes with the mic trouble that I have, he's an absolute magician. So here's to you, Mr. Don Love. Well done indeed. That is our unsung
He's not going to cut that out, is he?
I don't think he will. No, this episode has been quite revealing. All right, excellent, guys. Well, that is it. That is the end of the award ceremony. My greatest thanks to Mr. Boisclair and Mr. Domm. And if you like what you hear, please keep on following us, keep on telling your friends about us. And over the summer, we've got a few bonus episodes of a few quizzes coming up. But we will be back in full force pretty damn soon. But in the meantime, we will have those quizzes, and we will be on Twitter. And for big announcements such as transfers, we will be updating you. So thank you both to my co-host once again, and thank you all for listening, for making it through us for this awful season that we've endured. Thank you. Good night.
Fulham.